Scoro offers a native integration to all the various apps that you see on screen here, most notably Xero and QuickBooks. And we would invite you to sort of investigate and integrate with the likes of Calendar for Office and Google. We've also got an extensive Google Drive integration, marketing integration through MailChimp, timesheets capability through Toggle, and an extended universe of other web-based applications via Zapier.
And if we just focused in on these individually, do you think we could go through the accounting integrations in a little bit more detail?
Of course.
Just to understand, how the data sync works. Can you choose what gets synced? Like when does data move across?
Of course. I would suggest from my standpoint, Xero would be the most comprehensive integration that we have. And I'd say that Scoro would be one of the more comprehensive solutions that would integrate with Xero for the fact that it actually allows for multiple accounting files effectively to be integrated with Xero. So you can have multi-jurisdictions, separate set of books and accounts to be able to invoice from within Scoro that would directly feed into the various Xero files. It integrates chart of accounts, tax codes, and a single tracking category, as well as being able to sync in both ways, price and services, contacts, invoices, and bills. And then any receipted invoices from Xero can then update Scoro as well. The synchronization can be done manually or set to automatic, which would then effectively update every 5 minutes and collects the latest batch of financial data to be synced. But certainly the individual user can sync a transaction manually themselves at time of entry if they needed real-time passing of data into Xero. Similarly, this integration works in the same way for QuickBooks Online, but also offers an extended project number integration with QuickBooks Online.
And if I just investigated one of the aspects a little bit further, in terms of bills moving into Scoro, one of the things that a lot of businesses and certainly accountants will be doing is some pre-accounting apps that capture those purchase invoices and expenses, such as Receipt Bank or Auto Entry, HubDoc.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're saying is we can still use those. The data will go into Xero, and then it can feed back in and get tracked against the project using one of the tracking categories or a naming convention.
Yes, you could. You could certainly integrate bills from Xero into Scoro. Those bills would need to be classified against the project, however. More formally, you would want to match those bills against any purchase orders to then generate the bills back into Xero. We are planning to work with a cloud solution in market. It's probably a little bit too early to announce, but to be able to OCR read bills to match against purchase orders and then ultimately create those bills into Xero as well.
Brilliant. That's really interesting to hear. I don't think there's too many project management solutions that have gone down that route yet. So I think you'd be kind of first to market in that sense.
Yeah, it's very prominent in the manufacturing and inventory sector, but not readily seen in the professional service and project management applications. So yeah, we're excited to work on that and announce that.
I'm definitely interested in
release.
Keeping up to date with that one. If we moved on just to Zapier, I'm really interested in this because it's such a broad range of integrations that they have. Could you just maybe give some of the examples of some typical Zaps that you see people using?
Sure.
For?
Yeah, sure. So, for instance, if businesses use Slack as a means to communicate internally about projects or work, certainly when a project is added in Scoro, it could then create a channel in Slack, and then any comments created or entries created in Slack, the Slack channel, could also then be added as project comments to just ensure that everything is rolled up to that Scoro project for tracking purposes ongoing. Because obviously we can archive and close down channels in Slack. So it just keeps everything back into the one place and location if need be. So that's a very common use case. You may also offer Google Forms and issue Google Forms to collect company and contact data. That information can flow directly into Scoro if you're wishing to trap and collect information by the means of Google Forms. And for our sort of development houses that use apps like Jira, for instance, when a Jira issue is created, we can also create a task in Scoro, and then that will be useful for time capture and assignment against a company and or project if set up. And that also is the case for the likes of Zendesk as well. If you're managing your support desk via Zendesk, you can also create tasks inside of Scoro for time tracking and ultimately for billing if it's done on a time basis as well.
That's brilliant. So you're really using Zapier there. You've got a fair amount of triggers and actions available, presumably, so that you're not having to integrate with every single app that people are using. But if people are using those, then they can get data flowing in and out of Scoro through Zapier.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. So if we moved on to Google, because I know you said you're quite keen on covering this in detail. It's a really good integration that you've got. Could you just run through some scenarios where the Google integration becomes like really powerful for a typical customer?
Yeah, of course. Google Drive integration in particular, whereby you're able to add and delete and synchronize files, but at a client and project level. When the project members are set up within the project in Scoro, those same user permissions are then allocated against the project or client folder in Drive, or in this case, the project folder. So you're not having to go back and needing to manage those permissions. And then very simply, you're able to create Google files such as docs, sheets, and slides from within the project that will also get synchronized back into that folder. So all the file creation can be done from within Scoro, and then later tracked if necessary inside of Drive. But you've also got the extended search and filter capability of Google document types inside of Scoro under the files module as well.
Brilliant. So you can kind of manage all of your documents, even though they're not actually being created through Scoro's own document system. You're using Google Drive, which is really powerful, and then bringing everything back in so it's accessible for people that need it.
Yeah, it really does promote that collaboration from whichever application, if it's from Drive or from within Scoro. You're not having to always jump in and out of the system. You can do most things from within Scoro, and if anything does get added to Drive, then it will surface itself against the project in Scoro.
Fantastic. And so lastly, I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about how the calendar function works in terms of the sync, as well as one of the key things is busy free. How does that?
Sure. So the main statuses of calendar entries for both Microsoft Office 365 or Exchange, as well as Google Calendar, can track whether it's busy or free, as well as tentative. And in addition to that, if you've got private calendar events, those get marked inside of those calendars will also appear as private entries inside of Scoro and will not be attributed against your productivity and utilization.
And those events, they're moving into the time as well, are they?
That's right. After a calendar entry elapses, that automatically converts into a timesheet entry, so that it can be locked down, and then hopefully it's attributed to a client or project or task, If it's created from within Scoro itself, it will automatically allow you to assign those so that the utilization against the project and client can be mapped immediately. And the integration can be synced both one way or two ways, and that's independent for each individual inside the organization. So each individual can determine whether or not they want to use Scoro as their primary calendar source of truth, or if they wanted to use their own discrete calendar solution to roll up into Scoro for further classification around chargeable, non-chargeable activity.
Perfect. So what you would recommend then is people kind of use their calendar to manage their time, and then from there they get the end result of how much time has been spent across different projects.
That's correct.
And I've just noticed as well, you've got MailChimp on there. Do you want to just briefly just talk through how that MailChimp integration works, what you can do with that?
Of course. The CRM component of Scoro allows you to tag and classify all of your clients, by industry size, regions, etc. And that then holds for a powerful utility for us to filter our clients that we can then generate campaign lists. So Scoro's marketing module allows you to review past campaigns and how many contacts were filtered for that campaign to then surface a distribution list into MailChimp for MailChimp to then push out and then record and feed back into Scoro open rates of those campaigns. So the sales staff working in concert with marketing can actually have a look at those campaigns and see the effectiveness and the open rates produced without needing to have access to MailChimp directly.
Great. So all your segmentation is within Scoro, and then MailChimp can understand that and push out relevant content to the... Great.
And it will continue to manage your unsubscribes going forward as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking us through those integrations. I'm sure everyone will find that really insightful information.